Hello and welcome to the Tennis Podcast, where it is midnight UK time. That is where you find me and David, and it is 1:15 a.m. Bologna time, and that is where you find Matt Roberts. It's an absurd time of night for tennis to have been happening, so of course the tennis was brilliant. Those are the rules. We have just all watched Tim Putz and Kevin Kravitz's seal victory for Germany on their fifth match point in the decisive doubles rubber over Argentina. It's everything you want from the Davis Cup, except that it's happening at 1 o'clock in the morning. Matt Roberts.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better. Obviously, the first law of post-midnight tennis is that it shouldn't be happening at all. And the second law of post-midnight tennis is that when it happens, it is, I'm going to just say it, fucking amazing normally, quality-wise. And that's what happened today. Like, I got on site at 8:30 a.m. this morning. It is 1:15 in the morning the next day, and I'm still here. This was the day that the Davis Cup decided to have its deciding doubles matches, of course, when we had 2 ties to fit in. 5 of the matches today ended in straight sets, and yet we still ended at 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, what a sport. And yet I kind of could have gone back to the hotel to watch the doubles, but you two know what it's like. It's actually a lot better to be at the venue with the adrenaline. You don't want the crash that's waiting for you when you get back to the hotel. And everyone gets a bit loopy and delirious and mad at this time. And it's just quite a fun energy to be around. So as much as I hate it, I also love it. I'm part of the problem. And here we are.
Yeah, you look in way better shape than we do. You're all like hype and adrenalized, whereas I'm in my pajamas and Billie Jean went to bed 2.5 hours ago. That's the vibe that I've been dealing with. Look, we will talk in great detail about that tie, both the brilliant ties that we had today, all 4 quarterfinals. That's what we're here for, and to look ahead to tomorrow and Saturday's semi-finals. Not tomorrow, today and Saturday's semi-finals. But I do feel like we should start by rowing back a bit, because the last time you heard from us, we were producing a podcast that went out of date. I think, Matt, that is the quickest. David, maybe you can confirm. You're the auditor on this. I think it's the quickest a podcast has ever gone out of date for us.
I was quite proud of that one, actually. Yeah, I mean, to produce it and not even manage to quite finish the edit, only for it to suddenly become apparent that the main person we've been talking about for the majority of the show had just pulled out. Yeah, rendering most of it out of date was impressive, and I think I've only managed to sort of, one-up it, or at least back it up, by realising that I think I've got every single one of my punchy predictions wrong. Every one. Even without Alcaraz in it. I picked Czechia to win, and they still didn't.
Yeah, you picked Czechia to beat Carlos Alcaraz.
I know.
Czechia couldn't even beat Pablo Carreño Busta.
David, I am going to throw you a bone. You did predict Italy to beat Austria.
Yes. And at one point, 2 shows ago, I think I briefly said they might win the whole thing. That was before I looked at the draw. And so, if they go and win the whole thing, I'm just going to grasp onto that for grim life. But I mean, yeah, the Rindiknecht thing didn't happen. The Czechia thing. Oh, goodness.
Lots of things have happened, and lots of things have not happened. So what's not happened is Carlos Alcaraz playing the Davis Cup. If you don't know that by now, if you just get all your information from us and you merrily listened to the last show and missed the 45-second little add-on I did at the start to try and cover us, then I'm really sorry to have led you astray. Carlos Alcaraz is out of the Spanish team for the Davis Cup. He said on the eve of the tournament the very, very eve of the tournament. I am very, very sorry. I'm very sorry. I've added an extra there. I'm sure he is very, very sorry. But he said he's merely very sorry to announce that I will not be able to play with Spain in the Davis Cup in Bologna. I have an edema in the hamstring of my right leg, and the medical recommendation is not to compete. I've always said that playing for Spain is the greatest thing there is, and I was very excited to be able to help fight for the salad bowl. I'm going home hurt. And then he posted today a photo of himself watching the Spanish doubles team who went on to seal victory for Spain over Czechia. And of course, that was lovely that he was supporting Spain and the caption was Vamos. But all anybody is focusing on is the chaotic arrangement of prized Grand Slam trophies that Carlos Alcaraz has in his extremely unglamorous looking living room. I'm obsessed with it. There's like a Wimbledon trophy right shoved in the back with a US Open trophy alongside it, and there's a sort of a weird Cincinnati ceramic seems to have pride of place. Yeah, good Carlos Alcaraz stuff in there.
So good, so good. Yeah, I mean, I think it's his parents' living room or something by the looks of things. There's a very dodgy tablecloth. He's got his shoes on inexplicably, and yeah, these trophies. Like I kind of feel like the real pride of place in that house is probably like his under-10s local Murcia trophy or something, you know. I feel like it's that kind of vibe, and it's like they've always been there. This Wimbledon one's just got to go to the back right at the top, you know. It's just so wholesome. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And look, obviously,
I believe
gutting
news. that he is gutted. You know, he really had every intention of competing, and I don't know a lot about edemas. It's obviously slightly more serious than he had hoped it was.
I think it was the risk of what it could become if he played on it. I think there was a big risk that he could have done something a lot more serious. He could have ripped it, and that would have really put his Australian Open participation, let alone ability to win it, in doubt. So
sorry, I think you mean 1 point slam, Matt. I'll stop you there. All eyes on the 1 point slam at this.
No, he still could have won that. Yeah. Very specifically the Australian Open. And yeah, look, he was keen to play. We know that. He got a van all the way from Turin to Bologna, even though he was, you know, struggling with this injury even at the time. He did everything he could. It was the doctor's, you know, call, I think, in the end for him not to play. And, you know, it is gutting, you know, absolutely. I can't think of an event that, you know, wouldn't be enhanced with the presence of Carlos Alcaraz. But what I will say is that as much as we want the Davis Cup to have the top players, and as much as, you know, the top players' participation in Davis Cup potentially being one of the main reasons why this format changed, you know, it's important we have them. Oddly, it is also the event that's least impacted, I think, by the absence of the top players. You have so much other stuff, team nominations, captains, fans behaving differently, interactions on the bench, playing for your country. All this other stuff brings life to the event. And there have been some matches today, in the last few days, between, you know, players who would never get that kind of stage or that kind of crowd watching them, and yet it's accepted as normal in Davis Cup because it's the Davis Cup. So there is this real conundrum. You want them to play, but you don't actually lose the heart and soul of the competition when they're not there. In a way that I think ATP Tour events without them have really this year felt like, it's not a waste of time, but like everyone knows that we're really, really missing those top players. There's just so much more to the Davis Cup, I think, than these individual top players. Other people might feel differently. That's how I feel personally. Would love to have them here, but I've not really been thinking about Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner all that much. I've been thinking about the players who are here, and I do think that is pretty unique to the Davis Cup and Billie Jean King Cup.
You've been thinking about Pablo Carreño Busta. You and David Ferrer both. I owe him an apology. Not just for what I said about him on the pod a few days ago, for what I was saying about him in our WhatsApp group, David, earlier on today, because when Jakub Mensik beat Pablo Carreño Busta in the opening match of today's first quarter-final, Spain against Czechia, the tie that many people thought would decide the outcome of this whole Davis Cup. Okay, that was before Carlos Alcaraz withdrew and the odds on Spain winning just altered entirely. But when Jakub Mensik beat Pablo Carreño Busta, I was busy sending you both the screen grab of the Alejandro Davidovich Fokina Jakub Mensik head-to-head. Like, told you, David. But I was wrong. David Ferrer knew what he had in Jaume Munar and in Marcel Granollers and Pedro Martinez, who pulled off an incredible victory in the doubles to beat Thomas Mahach and Jakub Mensik, a very tennis podcast coded doubles team, 7-6, 7-6, a match that I missed, David, due to having to seek warmth, because on the coldest day of the year, minus 1 degree, a man came to remove my front door today because it didn't comply with new fire regulations. So I had to.
Oh my!
I simply
God.
had to flee to find warmth. So I need you both to tell me how everything from Munar beating Lehečka onwards went down, please.
Yes, well, I mean, I watched the lot. And actually, I thought Pablo Carreño Busta put up a decent enough showing. I actually thought early on in that match, he might just tie Jakub Mensik up in knots here. And if you look at Mensik's year, whilst he's had spectacular results, particularly in Miami, of course, he can get sort of undone by certain players. And I actually ended up thinking, once the doubles had completed, you know, there's an example of it. Carreño Busta couldn't quite pull it off, but the danger signs were there. I don't know how much you can trust. And look, this is coming from the guy who picked Czechia to win the whole thing, so I haven't got a leg to stand on. I realise that in hindsight, but really, the guy I expected to be ultra reliable didn't get a point, you know, and that's Yuri Lehečka. I thought he was the guy who will put in a performance that you can rely upon, and I thought Mensik, well, you know, he's got a very high level, but he can also get in trouble, and I thought he did a really good job. Mensik, he came out, he was clearly pretty apprehensive and nervous, and Carreño Busta was hitting a lovely ball, but he just got overpowered in the end, and the serve was working enough, and the winners came, and Mensik goes 1-up. And honestly, if you'd have told me then that Czechia would not win that tie from there, I would have been. I'd pretty much just penciled that one in. And out came Jaume Munar and played probably the best tennis of the day. I mean, I think some of the level we saw in this evening's tie was exceptional, particularly with Echeverry in his match against Struff, and then the doubles, obviously, that we've just witnessed was the match of the day. But Munar just came out and took Lehečka apart. Really, he made him look stiff and awkward and pretty one-dimensional, and I was surprised. So that's 1-1. And then in the doubles, I mean, we'll get Matt's take on it as well. But I mean, it was so fascinating because Mahach came out so confident and shot making and hitting. He hit one absolute worldy cross court forehand passing shot that had Thomas Burdick shown in a close up on the screen, just going, okay, we're in that territory. And I've seen this guy do. He's seen the best tennis player in the world as well on the practice court, just like us. And you know, clearly in his mind, here he is about to show it. But in truth, the other team with a better doubles pair, and overall, you've got two exceptional players on the Czechia side. But you know, it finished on a Jakub Mensik double fault, and that is what I'm getting at. He smashed this serve in because he clearly didn't have enough confidence to get into another rally, and he tried to go for broke, and he hit it long. And I think he's still got work to do in his career, but that is, I think, a massive achievement by Spain, stomaching the disappointment of Alcaraz having to pull out, and coming back and finding a way to win.
Matt, I didn't give them a hope before this tie, quite honestly, based purely on the still images I saw of the Spain pre-tournament press conference after Alcaraz's withdrawal. It looked like a funeral. Like it looked like they were on a death march. They did not look sort of fired up to prove a point about how they were not a one-man team. That was certainly the vibe that I was getting from them. So I definitely wasn't giving them a prayer when Menchik won the opening match of this tie. Like, what a turnaround, what a performance, what a show of heart from the Spanish team. I defer to our soon-to-be Spaniard to talk about Spanish heart.
Well, that is something that they really value and cling to and talk about as part of this team. You know, at the pre-tournament press conference, so the one you reference, in the Spanish portion of it, there were an awful lot of questions about the spirit of Mar del Plata, which is a place in Argentina where Spain went in 2008 without Rafael Nadal and won the Davis Cup final against Argentina with David Nalbandian and Juan Martín del Potro. And it was Verdasco and Lopez who managed to win that tie for Spain. David Ferrer was part of the team, and it was very much the vibe of, can you do that again? You know, then there you didn't have Rafael Nadal. Here you don't have Carlos Alcaraz. Have you got that spirit in you, you know, that underdog spirit? And David Ferrer was very much like, yes, because we don't need to go back as far as 2008. We can go back to September and the tie against Denmark in Marbella, where they were 2-0 down. Carlos Alcaraz is not there. Pedro Martinez, I think he had match point against him that would have ended the tie, you know, and they came back and they won. So they have got that in them, that fight, you know. And I think definitely the Carlos Alcaraz not being there was a big blow, but they did sort of just tap into that today once they went 1-0 down. That was the interesting thing, you know. I thought, I was the same as you. I thought, oh, they're in massive trouble here. Like, you know, I've never really thought Carreño Busta was going to beat Menchik, but when he lost, I thought, wow, they've got to play two great matches now to turn it around. And David's right. Munar was unbelievable. I feel like we've, you know, shouted him out for his year that he's had, and we've really taken notice of it, and yet probably still underrated it. This was a guy who really did not have results off clay before this year, and I still think one of the best matches I've seen all year was his match against Alcaraz at Queen's that he lost. But he was so good in that match, and he's now able to bring this attacking tennis to a, you know, an indoor hard court like we've got here in Bologna, and he served Lehechka off the court. His serve was just unbelievably good today in a way that he never used to get that out of it. So props to Munar. And then David summed up the doubles really well. And David Ferrer really believes in this doubles team. You know, he called Granollers the best doubles player in the world. You know, he probably would say that, you know, because that's his player. But I think he probably believes it. Like, he really rates Granollers, and he combined well with Pedro Martinez, and yeah, it was a hell of a win, because I think they faced set points in both sets, did the Spanish there, but they managed to just win the big points in the tie breaks, and yeah, another comeback for this sort of underdog Spanish team.
Yeah, and one of two today, because Spain now face Germany in Saturday's semi-final, and a very similar cadence of tie for Germany and Argentina today. Thomas Martin Echeverri taking the lead for Argentina against somebody who seems to now officially be being called Struffy. We were doing it sort of ironically on the last pod, but commentators are now doing it. Not sure what's happening re Jan Lennard Struff's identity, but he lost his singles in 2 tie-break sets to Thomas Martin Etcheverry, who I thought was awesome today. I thought there was a real
serve
strut
bot
and swagger, and he looked. I'm always a bit surprised by how tall Etcheverry is. I'm like, oh, bit like Sonego. I don't expect him to be tall. But he looked even taller to me today. I don't know, he just really sort of puffed his chest out and rose to the occasion. It was all for nothing, though, because Cerundolo followed him out onto court, and bless him, he warmed up as the match went on, didn't he? But he started off extremely flat and nervous and not timing the ball. He ended up losing out to Alexander Zverev, 6-4, 7-6. And then we had the doubles that we've all just watched and are still breathless from. 4-6, 6-4, 7-6, puts and Kravitz over Molteni and Zeballos. Match point saved. They clinched it on their 5th match point. David, it was absolute scenes.
Yeah, it was one of the great doubles matches. I think we don't care who wins, and yet you cared about this match. You just were hanging on every single point. And I mean, Argentina got off to an amazing start in that doubles, having sort of suffered the disappointment really of having to go out there at all, because given Cerundolo's record against Zverev, I think that they might have been quite hopeful. And Cerundolo struggled, as you say, and Zverev sort of survived his sticky patch in the middle of the second set there, and then out come Argentina, and Zeballos is some doubles player, isn't he? Left-handed, he's a wizard with that left-handed backhand of his, and they break immediately. They win that first set comfortably, then they get reeled in, and you go into this deciding set, and all the way through it, Argentina are kind of the better team in that third set. They're the ones getting into the Germany service games, getting to 30-all, pushing them whilst sort of cruising through their own service games. Then towards the end of the set, it started to change a little bit, and Germany got into it, but it goes into this tie-break, and then Germany just take over. And it's 1-7 tie-break, not the 1-10. 6-3 up. 6-3 up, and they lost 4 points in a row, and then they're suddenly match point down. So they've had 3 match points to go match point down. Matt, I was struggling to kind of focus on what was actually happening in the points. Was this choke stuff from Germany, or was this just incredible tennis from Argentina that got them back into it?
I think in that run of 4 points, I'm pretty sure the Germans missed some volleys that they definitely would have expected to make. But no, I wouldn't call it choke stuff, because the tension was just so high, and then they kept coming up with the goods to sort of deny the other one on their own match point. It was, as you said, everything you could wish for from a doubles match. People know I'm not particularly high often on men's doubles. I don't really like watching it a lot of the time. I was living for this match. The rush to get to the net was just awesome to see. Both teams so comfortable up there. And then the drama and just not knowing what was going to happen. It was brilliant. It was such high quality. And, Kravitz and Putz now, I think, genuinely one of the best doubles pairs in Davis Cup history, and this tournament has been around since 1900. They only ever lost one match together. I think Putz has won 20 of his 21 Davis Cup doubles matches, and Kravitz has won 19 of his 20. It is absolutely remarkable, and therefore credit Molteni and Zeballos for pushing them that far and very, very nearly beating them. It was just an absolute treat of a match. One of the matches of the year for sure. Look at me talking about men's doubles as one of the matches of the year. It's what the Davis Cup does to me.
What was the atmosphere like in the stadium? I was excited for the big Argentina return to the Davis Cup. Obviously, Argentina's a long way from Italy, so they weren't the numbers that you would ideally want to get, but they know how to make some noise.
Oh, they do. I think if they'd won, I might have even given you a little rendition of their song. I've just had it stuck in my head all day. Soy argentino, es un sentimiento, no puedo parar. Soy argentino. Oh, they're just the best. They're just the best. And they're like it in every sport. And look, you're right. It wasn't.
It makes me really sad that they're out, Matt.
Oh, I know.
Did Germany
What
have
would you
a
have done
song?
if they'd won?
Did Germany have a song? I only want teams with songs to stay in.
There's a lot of flag waving from the Germans, whereas the Argentinians were more scarf round the head, jumping up and down. It's a very different energy. Look, they provided a great noise. I think in both ties the crowds thinned out, which is a shame, but also understandable. There were long ties. We went on for like 7 or 8 hours per tie. It is, and I cannot stress this enough, the most uncomfortable stadium I've ever sat in, I think. Like, the seats are not big enough. There's no leg room. You're squeezed in next to the people next to you. And look, I think people suck it up, right? Because they want to be there, but it is such an uncomfortable experience.
Physically able to suck it up,
right?
That is extremely exclusionary to have
and
something that uncomfortable.
There's not even any handrails walking up the steps. The media seats you have to probably walk up 20 steps to get to them, and then obviously down as well. And I'm quite surprised no one has fallen. I mean, maybe they have. I mean, it's not great, I have to say. So yes, both times the crowds thinned out. I think in the day session that was partly because they'd obviously got a lot of school kids in there to fill seats, which is something the Davis Cup finals has done over the last few years, and I think is a good solution. And unfortunately, though, there's a time limit. They can't be there the whole day, and therefore for that final doubles of Spain, Czechia, the stadium was a lot emptier than it was for the middle portion when it was pretty full. And then I think it thinned out tonight because people have lives and can't be watching tennis so late into the night. But good atmosphere, good noise, and to me, it sounded like Davis Cup. I don't know if that came through on the telly, but it was the right kind of vibe. You just wish for more of it, I suppose.
Okay, that's it for part 1. Join us in part 2. We'll see if we can get Matt to do a rendition of La Marseillaise. Welcome back to part 2 of the tennis podcast, where we're going to take you back in time now to what feels like another age, and the first 2 quarterfinals of this year's Davis Cup Final 8. Let's start with Belgium's defeat of France on Tuesday, the opening quarterfinal of these Davis Cup finals. 2-0 for Belgium. Raphael Collignon beating Corentin Moutet in 3 sets, and then Zizou Bergs beating Arthur Rinderknecht in straight sets. We'll touch upon that, but there is really one story in town here with this tie, and it's what on earth was Corentin Moutet thinking? Talk us through it, David.
Yeah, I'm afraid, Corentin, this was not your finest moment, was it? Look, he was amazing in the first set of this match. He came out inspired, and he just took it to Collignon. I mean, he was just thrashing the ball all over the place, playing all of his shots. Collignon looked really nervous, actually, and quite tight, and I felt inhibited.
Big moment for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was 6-2 that first set. I mean, it was just so one-sided. And really, I thought the way Corentin's playing, it's like he's not even conscious here. He's just sort of playing. He's just letting it all flow. He's having the time of his life. You got the sense that his team were into him, and really enjoying his tennis and the tricks and all the flashes and everything that he does. And then Collignon just got a bit of a foothold in the second set. He just managed to kind of keep the score close. That's what you've got to do, isn't it, in those situations? And that's what he did. He kept it close, and he kept it close. And then he got to, I think it was it 5-all and 15-all, I think. And
5-6, I think.
5-6.
5-6, 15-all.
Even
Moutet
worse.
is serving and to take it into a tie-break that could win him the tie. And he dominates this point, and he opens the court up beautifully to get to the net where a ball is dropping out the sky for him to just pat away or to smash away, whatever he wants. He could do whatever he wants with it. Instead, he decides to let it drop, put his racket behind his back, and play a through the legs, half volley drop shot. And he got it wrong. And he mishit it, and he shanked it into the net. He's 15-30 down. He got broken. He lost the set 7-5. I mean, his team, by this stage, are not enjoying his tennis anymore. And I mean,
They just blanked him.
They weren't happy with him at all. And Collignon, I mean, fair play to him. He just kept growing into this match. I mean, it's still a good deciding set, but Collignon won that match. Moutet, I'm afraid, let himself down this time. I mean, maybe it wasn't the deciding moment of the match, but come on, you can't do that in Davis Cup. Not you. If you're going to play that shot, you have to make it. But don't play the bloody shot.
But if he'd played that shot and he'd made it, everybody would have gone, oh, that's such a, what a brave thing to do. It's only brave if there's a risk of it not, if you're not making it, right? I'm playing devil's advocate here because you are the Corentin Moutet apologist.
Oh, I do love him, yeah.
Describing the way he played in that opening set and like he's just on instinct and everything's coming off. They're two sides of the same coin, aren't they? You don't get that
you're right.
without...
Yep.
Is there a way of a Corentin Moutet existing in the world that can do all of the stuff we love and not be at risk of doing whatever it is he did at 5-6?
Kind of the first set was it, but it's one thing to do it when you're relaxed and your body's not feeling tension, and I don't think you can give him too hard a time. I mean, he's been really good in Davis Cup this year to get them there. He's learning about it, and he then had to face Matt Roberts in the press conference. These are new things, and I dare say
the question, David, just not as the first question.
In my defence, I have two defences. One is that I didn't know how many English questions there were going to be. There are not that many journalists here. The press conference are generally pretty quick, and those mid-tie ones especially, they kind of want to get the players in and out, and there were French journalists waiting.
Were you panic formulating what the fuck was that, Corentin, in French in your head?
No, I actually wasn't.
You had to ask it in French.
Because I knew that...
Like in the Amélie Mauresmo press conference.
Yeah. I absolutely knew that if I didn't get it in English, at least Eric Salio or someone in the French portion of the press conference would get it in French. So I wanted to get it in, but my second defence is I did couch the question, first of all, as a bit of a positive. I said, can you talk us through how well you were playing in those first couple of sets? But then I said, but then what were you thinking? That was how I ended the question.
I think he got it.
He gave a brilliant answer.
Yeah, he got it. He knew what he knew what he'd done, and he fronted up to it.
It was a classic example of how speaking to the media can actually really enhance your image, I think, because I went into that press conference thinking, what a clown. That was stupid. I can't really see any kind of justification for it whatsoever. I'd have been like his team, blanking him. And that continued, by the way, when he lost that third set. It was a close third set. He put the underarm serves away. He played it pretty straight, did Moutet. No one put an arm around him right at the end, certainly publicly. They all just sort of sat there, and he trudged off. So I was
think
feeling
that's
like
harsh.
like
I think that's harsh.
I think it is. I think
one point, one moment of madness. You know,
I agree.
That's what a moment of madness looks like for Corentin Moutet. On somebody else, it looks like going for a huge second serve and missing and double faulting it at 15-30, 5-6, doesn't it? Like, that's just his particular variety of rush of blood to the head.
Right,
And, okay,
and that
looks
was
extra silly, but like...
And that was what he explained so well in the press conference. He said, "It, you know, as I said, so I kind of like to think if I were his teammate, I wouldn't have acted like that. But I was feeling, I'm sure, like they were feeling towards him. But when he explained himself, I ended up feeling a bit guilty about that. I felt a little bit sorry for him because he did explain it in terms of stress and anxiety, and his exhibits itself like that. Just a moment of sort of shot selection madness, because as you said, he so often treads that line, and he'd been getting it so right.
Do you think there'll be
before then
a lasting impact for him in his Davis Cup career and his place in this French team?
Possibly. I mean, I was genuinely very interested to see if they'd won, you know, whether he would have been chosen to play the next tie. I was kind of thinking perhaps not. You know, you sort of go the complete opposite and you go with someone like Giovanni Impesci-Pericard, who's here. You know, you absolutely know what you're going to get from him.
Not a return.
Right. But you know, the best serve in the world. I think so. I mean, he put out a very lengthy Instagram apology as well, talking about how he's got a heavy heart. It did really feel like, even then, it was, you know, it was still going too far. Like, no one had said, it's okay, Corentin, like, we get it. Don't do that.
Sorry for him.
You know, try not to do that again, but we get it.
Yeah. Try not to do that again. Hug. That's
what needed to happen.
Yeah.
That's what my management technique would have been.
Yeah. Do you know what, David? He needs you. He needs.
Yeah. I thought the same.
Yeah. Oh. A quick word on Zizou Bergs getting the job done for Belgium against.
He was fantastic.
I like Zizou Bergs.
I mean, he was.
I don't know why his ranking isn't higher. I mean, it's on the up, isn't it? It's happening.
He was that day's Jaume Munar, really, because, you know, obviously I've gone in to watch Arthur Rinderknecht, and Bergs is just his game looked so compact and reliable, and he was all over the court. I mean, in the first game he did like a Pete Sampras slam dunk smash attempt, and he actually made the shot. He looked a bit awkward as he kind of landed. You got to work on it a bit, but he's a good athlete, but he's so up for it. You know, he's so combative. He speaks really well, I think, as well. When he was interviewed before and after, I thought, God, what a thoughtful guy. But yeah, I mean, Rinderknecht kind of caught him on the way back by Bergs choking a little bit, and Rinderknecht coming up with some inspired tennis, but he was always second best in that match.
So Belgium through to the semi-finals, where they will take on defending champions Italy. Italy dispatching underdogs Austria 2-0 on Wednesday. Matteo Berrettini defeating Alexander Rodionov? What is Rodionov's first name?
Yuri.
I had a stab in the dark there. Yuri Rodionov, 6-3, 7-6. There was, I'd say, a 20% chance it was going to be Alexander. But it wasn't. Flavio Cobolli then thrashed Filip Misalic.
Correct.
Got it.
With an F. Philip with an F.
Filip Misalic, 6-1, 6-3. Good performance for a Cobolli believer, David.
Yeah, and maybe not the best performance from his opponent. I mean, this, you know, by comparison to everything else we've seen, this whole tie was just uneventful, really. I mean, it was, you know, Austria just... I thought they would show more, if I'm honest. they just didn't get going. There was a real class gap between these two teams. I mean, Berrettini and Caboli, they're class players, and Austria have done incredibly well to get there. I thought maybe the inspiration and Meltzer being on the sidelines and the way they've kind of got there as underdogs, they would produce more, but no, it was tough going for them.
A golfing class, even with Berrettini not looking, Matt, entirely fit. Yes, he's come through this one unscathed in straight sets, but he surely must be a worry for the semi-finals onwards.
Yes, I think so. I mean, there were reports even before this tie that he was struggling with his back in practice, and that Sonego was very much, on standby, which I think is his job.
Sonego, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, what else is he here for if not to be on standby for injured Matteo Berrettini? I'm not sure that was news, really. But anyway, that was very much being reported. And look, he did, I thought, look a bit stiff at times in that match, Berrettini, sort of running out to the backhand side, I thought in particular. And again, I think some Italian journalists think that maybe Sonego comes in for the semi-finals, but look, I don't know if it's a sort of day-to-day injury. It sort of just depends how Berrettini's feeling, and you cannot deny the presence that Berrettini has. He got, I think, the biggest roar of all as that Italian team came out in the crowd, and he literally lives for the Davis Cup. He's now very much talking about how he's using it in this stage of his career to be the thing he wants to be present at and wants to be part of. And he talks very movingly about, hearing the national anthem when he was a kid and wanting to be there lined up as a player. And now he's getting to do that. It really means a lot to him, this competition. He's now won 7 matches in a row in the Davis Cup. He's got a very good record in it, singles and obviously some doubles with Sinner as well. And I think that's going to be hard to resist, for Volandri. If he's able to play and able to serve, I think they're going to want Berrettini in there because he's just such a good vibe. But it is a balance because I do think there is an injury concern there for sure.
Would be the crowning achievement of his career, I think, to win this Davis Cup for Italy as the talisman of the team. Obviously, he's been part of winning teams, and that's probably currently the crowning moment of his career. But I think if he were able to lead them to this time, that would mean more to Matteo Berrettini probably than anyone else, really. I mean, I'm just saying that because he's Italian and he emotes, doesn't he? I'm sure that, they all want it. But you know what I mean? He makes you feel things, Matteo Berrettini, doesn't there? And there is just a whiff of tragedy about him and all his injuries and his curses and his COVID at the wrong time just before Wimbledon. Okay, that's it for part 2. Matt, do you want to play us out of part 2 with La Marseillaise?
I do know the words to the Marseillaise.
I know you do.
But no, I've done quite enough terrible singing for one podcast.
Flagging now.
Join us.
I am flagging a bit.
Join us in part 3 for some.
The clock has just ticked over to 2:00 in the morning.
Okay, join us in part 3 for punchy predictions, and they'll be extra punchy this time. Welcome back to part 3 of tonight's or this morning's tennis podcast, whatever you want to call it. We have the dregs of Matt Roberts bringing you punchy predictions for the Davis Cup semi-finals. And we have David, you look perkier than you did at the start of the pod, to be honest. You're going to have to carry part 3.
Looking forward to my 6:30 alarm.
Belgium. Oh, my God.
My God. Belgium against Italy, first semi-final. What you got?
Italy.
Matt.
Italy. But
I've liked Belgium.
Yeah.
I do. They're not Austria, right?
You really bigged up Austria in the preview,
I know.
David. They let you down.
I was really just. I mean, everybody's let me down, so I'm down on all the ones who let me down.
and and also just on Belgium, just one tiny thing we didn't mention before. Like, they loved beating France, loved it. You know, like there's a very lovely Belgian journalist here who was like, it's going to be the best day of my life if we beat France. Like they hadn't beaten France in this competition since 1997. They lose at like every sport to France, and I think they, you know, I sort of really tried to make the rivalry happen in the press conference. Steve Darcy did say, you know, we are friends with the French guys, and that makes sense, right? They've got a shared language on tour. I think they do sort of gravitate towards each other. And Zizou Bergs was like, well, I'm actually from the Flemish-speaking part of Belgium, so actually I don't like the Dutch. You know, he was quite funny about that. But generally, I think the fans were desperate to win that one, and there was a great vibe in the stadium. Like the Belgians had a lot more support than the French. So I hope that doesn't take the edge off them, you know. But I don't think it will. I think they're absolutely up for this. And Collignon's got a sneaky good record this year. He's beaten Ruud, he's beaten De Minaur. Like, I think he can. Like, he could beat Berrettini or Sonego. Like, I think we probably could write that one off. But that match is in the balance. And Bergs beat Caboli in Bologna last year in the group stages. It was in a different stadium, but it was in the same city. I think Caboli's better player this year, and I do think he's got a bit of a look in his eye actually when he gets on court as the Italian number one. And he said, you know, I like the pressure. It means I want to be here. I want to play. I like that answer from him. I am backing Italy, but I agree with David. Belgium are not a pushover.
Matt, that was all brilliant stuff. It was not punchy. It's your bedtime that I'm worried about here. So...
Yeah,
you know,
we've just passed anything possible, haven't we? I'm now worried about David's 6:30 alarm, so I will be punchier.
Right. Spain.
We're not doing shout-outs.
Spain against Germany on Saturday. David.
I think Germany. Yeah, I think Germany, really. I mean, I wasn't aware that doubles team was quite as formidable as they are. And, you know, one lost Davis Cup rubber in all those. It's extraordinary. You've got to think that Zverev is going to be favourite for all of his singles, and, you know, put him in a doubles. That's tough sledding for anybody. But what I like about the two semi-finals is that they don't feel absolute shoo-ins either way. I think that they're both competitive matches.
Matt?
Yeah, look, I liked this matchup for Spain when they had Alcaraz because then you've got Munar in the number two, and I think he could have beaten Struff, and then I think Alcaraz would have beaten Zverev, and I think that was quite a clear route for Spain to get past Germany. However, without Alcaraz, that complexion changes entirely. I think it's not a given at all that Carreño Busta beats Struff. And even if he does, I think Germany are favourite in the next two matches as well. As impressed as I was with Munar, I think you've got to back Zverev. You know, I didn't think he played that well tonight. He did serve well, and he played well when it, you know, in the big moment in that tie break, he played well. And then the doubles, you know, again, Spain have got a good doubles team. They could push it, but I would back the Germans even after this exertion tonight. So yeah, I'm going with Germany in that one.
Okay, well, we'll be back with our next podcast on Saturday night after that second semi-final. Goodness knows when.
Well, it's an earlier start time on Saturday because they know they have to come back for the final the next day. So
how much earlier?
I think it's a midday start in Bologna.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
great.
So we should be fine.
Great. We will cover this in a lot more detail on future pods, but obviously we've also had the news in the last couple of days that Roger Federer will get the honour of being inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame next year alongside Mary Carrillo, and that is just the best news. We are so completely thrilled. I mean, obviously brilliant about Federer, that was a shoo-in. That was always going to happen. Great, congratulations, Roger. So frigging thrilled for Mary Carrillo. That is just the best news. And look, I know when the Hall of Fame comes up, as it often does, we always kind of preface it with, we don't really do those here in the UK, and we try to understand them, but they're just not woven into the fabric of our sporting law in the way they are in the US. But we watched that video of the various people informing Mary that she'd got the nod and she'd been voted in. And both McEnroe brothers, who of course she grew up with, were there on that call, and you could absolutely see what it meant to her. So we are all so thrilled for Mary, and we're going to try and be there when she gets inducted next year. I suspect quite a lot of other people will try and be there for Mary and for Roger Federer. Lucky Roger that he gets to bask in Mary Carrillo's reflected glow. Lucky
I say good luck, Roger, with your speech, because Mary's going to blow you out of the water.
He doesn't stand a chance, does he? Doesn't stand a chance.
It's going to be great.
Folks, don't forget you can keep up to date with the Davis Cup finals on the Davis Cup Instagram, TikTok and X. You can sign up to the free official Davis Cup newsletter at daviscup.com, and you can follow all the action on the newly updated World Cup of Tennis app, which brings together the Davis Cup and the Billie Jean King Cup by Gamebridge. Search World Cup of Tennis on the App Store or Play Store to download for free. Hello to our mascots, Phoebe, Maisie and Roger. Hello to our top folks and executive producers, Greg, Chris and Jeff. Matt, let's have some just kidding. We are part of the Athletic Podcast Network. Thank you for listening. We'll speak to you Saturday.